right, so now we're going to start moving into X guard, Oshiro X guard, and different kinds of guard where we control primarily both of our partner's legs. Okay, whereas before we were controlling, we moved a little bit into X guard, but we were talking mostly about just straight ashigarami, arimi ashigarami, and outside ashigarami, where we predominantly have control of one of our partner's legs. Okay, whenever we play with an opponent standing over us, it's very important to understand which grips we're utilizing. Okay, when we play in an X guard, like so, we usually play with the scoop grip. So this is a full X guard. We can also play with an Ashi X, where we have an Achilles grip, where we have the ability to move back to an ashigarami, or play with an X guard. All right. Now, when I'm controlling my partner through an X guard, you can use either an Achilles grip or a scoop grip. Why? Because you have control of both of your partner's legs. If I switch to any kind of outside ashigarami, for example, if I try to use a scoop grip now, there's nothing from stopping my partner's leg or my partner's ankle from moving out beyond my knee line, which means that if I stay with the scoop grip, if she stacks me, for example, and she manages to pull her knee out, now when she goes to take my back, you can easily get your back taken and end up in a bad position. Or if you actually see this, you can see this very clearly in actually the Craig Jones versus Kainan Duarte match, where he tries to transfer to 50-50 through a scoop grip, and he switches to a V grip, and Kainan takes his back from an outside ashi. Okay? So as a general rule, when we control both of our partner's legs, we can use a scoop grip or an Achilles grip with Ashi X. If we control one of our partner's legs, you shouldn't really be using a scoop grip, because now your partner can easily trade back exposure and take your back. If I have an Achilles grip, even if she clears her knee all the way out when she goes to take my back, this Achilles grip, go ahead, take my back. The Achilles grip will always save me. Okay? So, when your partner's standing over you, if she's on her knees, this completely changes. Okay? If she drops down to a knee, now you can play with the scoop grip, because now she has no ability to create explosivity through the floor and jump towards my back. From here, if she goes to take my back, it's pretty easy to knock her down to a hip and to start going into the rest of your attacks. But if she's standing, now she can move quickly. She's mobile. But now, my back's taken before I even know it. All right? So it's a general rule. Whenever we have control of two of our partner's legs in any way, it doesn't just have to be X guard. If I have an outside ashigarami, for example, and I have control of both of my partner's legs, now when she goes to take my back, because I have control of both of her legs, she can't. So whenever you have a form of two-legged control and your partner's on top of you, you can choose between a scoop grip and an Achilles grip. If you're only controlling one leg, just use an Achilles grip. Okay? So in this segment, you're going to see me transfer a lot between an Ashi X, like so, and a full X guard, like so. An Oshiro Ashi X, like so, and if she's on her knees, then I use more of a full Oshiro X with either a scoop or modified grip, like so. We'll talk about those later. All right? Just a little insight on when to use an Achilles grip versus using a scoop grip. All right, so now we're going to look at how to successfully transfer from an ashi or an arimi ashigarami, or we have control of one of our partner's legs, into an Ashi X guard. All right, now there's a very specific way that we have to be looking to do this. I can't just take my legs off and then just arbitrarily throw my legs in across to the far leg. What needs to be done is a kazushi before my legs go into place. What's always going to happen against any high-level player is going to be my partner's going to take an inside grip on my sole of my foot like so, and a reverse V grip on my ankle. So now, as I go to switch, she immediately just backsteps, and now she's halfway past my guard. Okay? So what I always want to do first is I always want to clear her hands off of my feet the best that I can. So initially, what I'm going to look to do is an initial sweeping motion back in this direction like we talked about before. So she goes to grab my feet. You see how her hands just immediately come out for balance? That's the reaction that we want. So the second she goes to monitor my feet, they off balance my partner. Her hands always will come off the feet from there. From this position, I take my foot down to the floor, and I take my shoelaces down below my partner's hamstring. So I can immediately get a second kazushi out in this direction, which puts her hands either down to the floor or out for balance. And only now do I take my shoelaces through, and I lock in with sticky hooks where my shoelaces mold to the pocket of my partner's hip and behind my partner's hamstring. So now there's tension running through the legs. Now when she goes to monitor my legs, I can always start to get her off balance. So we have an Arimi Ashigarami. She goes to peel my feet. I hit an initial off balance. It always takes her hands out of place. Now from here we go 1, 2. As she goes to recover, then my legs come in. Okay? We can't just do this. Make a switch right in, and now legs go to back step. This will always happen. If I'm right here and there's no off balance, you'll lose every time. So, and a little bit faster, I take my legs into place. As she goes to try to back step, I'm going to switch to X guard. Ready? Go. And now we're in. We even have control of the second leg if we can. All right? So we need a kazushi backwards, kazushi forwards, and now we're in the place, ready to go with our transition into Ashi X. So 2 kazushis, then your feet move. It's very important. So now let's look at the specific way to put your partner's hands down to the ground. All right? What everyone tells you to do and what you actually have to do against high-level people are 2 completely different things. All right? When we're playing either X guard or Ashi X guard, okay? Just so you know, before we start, if you want to make a transition from an Ashi X guard into a full X guard, we do it by catching with a false grip, a 90-degree bend over our partner's knee, and now from here we take the elbow inside. Now our whole goal is to get our shoulder below our partner's, in front of our partner's Achilles, and then we switch to a scoop above our partner's knee. Okay, so if you do want to switch to an X guard, that's how you do it. We can't just go from an Achilles to an elbow inside. Your partner will just step out all the way up, and now she's gone. Okay, so we connect ourselves to our partner first with this grip here. When she goes to move out and away, elbow comes down, shoulder comes in. Now we switch to a scoop grip. So whether we're playing from an X guard or an Ashi X with an Achilles, we can put our partner's feet on the ground and or our partner's hands to the floor in a relatively similar fashion. So we'll look at the leg position here. When we have an Ashi X, we go in and create tension. What everyone tells you to do to put your partner's hands to the floor is to extend along the center line and get their hands to the ground. So I say push, put your partner's hands to the floor. The issue is, with anybody good, what's going to happen all the time is they're just going to go into a split, but they're not going to fall down. So now your partner just takes her hands, she posts in my bottom ankle, and she backsteps as she's getting pushed into a split. So it looks like this. I go to push, she backsteps. Now you're getting past. What we need to do is to use a different directionality of force. We need to start putting our partner's hands to the ground out in this direction. We can't extend along the center line. We need to extend in the same direction that my top toes point, out here somewhere. The way that I do this is by extending out in this direction and using my back knee to bump my partner's hamstring forwards. So now, as she goes to stay standing and do your best to keep your hands off the ground, her hands are always going to go down. Okay? And that's what we want. We can't have her initially just going in, backstepping, and blowing past my guard. We always want to make sure that we lock in with tension, one. So if she goes to just pommel her leg out from here, without posting, just pommel. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. If my legs are just here, pommel out. She's free. So I create tension running through the legs, like so. And now from here, as I extend, I push in this direction. When I do that, my right knee, in this case, closes behind my partner's hamstring, and now we can easily get our partner's hands to the ground. Now we keep our partner's hands to the ground by taking this knee and closing it down towards my partner's far arm. So we push against our partner's hamstring and we extend down towards that far arm. When she goes to back step from here, it's not an easy thing to do. And now from here we can start going into our attack, all of our attacks. Very similar, working from a full X guard, except this time we put tension with our elbow in addition. So instead of just extending with the legs, I also put tension with my right elbow by raising it and getting this leg off balanced. If I'm just playing in from here, when she goes to post to my hand, she can easily free the leg and start to step out. So I always make sure we play with a high elbow where there's tension running through our partner's leg, always pushing her foot up in this way, forcing her into a further split. Now when she goes to post and clear the leg, it's much harder from here. If I have a closed elbow, okay, leg easily comes out. If I have an open elbow, okay, it's much more difficult. And now from here, as we create tension with the arm, we create tension with the legs. We can easily put her hand down to the floor for the win. Okay? All right, so as always, we're going to start off pretty basic and then move into more advanced segments as we go. Once again, the Scoop Grip X Guard, Full X, and the Ashi X are pretty interchangeable depending on what you're looking to do. All right. In this case, we're going to be firing into an outside Ashigarami, which is a form of single leg control. So we're going to need to use this particular variation with a Ashi X and an Achilles grip. All right. So basic opponents, you see the second you put their hands to the floor, they want to stand up. All right. What you're going to do as far as your sweeps and attacks, go, is completely contingent upon your partner's shoulders in relation to her hips. Okay. If my partner is ever standing with her shoulders directly over her hips, it's very easy to knock her backwards in this direction. Okay. If my partner ever has her hands on the floor or has her shoulders way in front of the hips, now it's going to be a different story. We can knock her backwards still, but there are other things that we can do. So from this particular variation, we put our partner's hands to the floor, and now our partner goes to stand up on us, getting her hands off the floor, which is smart for her because now she has active hands where she can V-grip my bottom ankle and backstep past my guard. We're going to look to use this as an opportunity to fire directly into outside Ashigarami the second my partner comes up and brings those shoulders over the hips. So she puts her hands on the floor. Now, the second she goes to stand up, we're going to take our leg up and over, and we're going to fire our hamstring into the pocket of our partner's hip. So that as she goes to stand, we catch, and we fall, and end up with an outside Ashigarami lock. This is very effective because we're using her momentum to sit her down. What I need is to have my hamstring connected over the pocket of my partner's hip. If I lock here, you'll never be able to sit anybody down. So I fire my hamstring up and over, and we catch. My knee has to be equal to or higher than her hip. Here. And that's what's going to bring my partner down. So we put our hands down to the ground. As she goes to get up, we fire, and the opposite leg slips out. This leg, my right leg, rotate. My right leg should always be out before we land. So we put our hands down to the ground. She goes to get out, goes to stand up. Now as we fall, This leg retracts, and now we're in, ready to go. Okay, so we put her hands to the floor, and as she goes to get up, we fire into an outside ashigarami. Remember, because we're switching from a form of 2 legs being controlled to only having 1 leg controlled, that means we need to stay within Achilles grip. Okay, what I don't want is to come up with a scoop, and as I fire to outside ashigarami, she slips by, and now there's back exposure. So I'm moving from a full X guard, where I have 2 legs controlled, to an outside ashigarami with 1 leg controlled. So as she puts her hands on the floor, as she goes to get up, when she goes to take my back now, that Achilles grip will always keep me safe, and now we're ready to go into attacks once she's down on her hip, and there's not really too much back exposure there. All right, so now let's go over another basic sweep from either X guard or Ashi X. This one, you're going to be always controlling 2 legs, so you have the choice between playing an Achilles or a scoop grip. All right, so we switch, we get our partner's hands to the ground, and now everyone tells you our partner stands up, so we go for a basic sweep. Okay, it's very basic, but I'm going to include it for those of you who haven't seen it or are pretty new to the sport. So I put my partner's hands to the ground, she goes to stand, and as she goes to stand, I just drop my shoelaces behind my partner's Achilles. Now, as I go to scissor, my 2 legs split, and we just sit our partner down to the floor. What's important is that as I scissor my legs, we pull my partner's foot in the direction that her toes point. Okay? So for this one, I'm not pulling towards me, I'm not pushing away, I'm not going out in that direction. I just pull in the same direction that my partner's toes point. So she goes to stand up. Now that her shoulders are over her hips, I just scissor my legs and sit my partner down to the ground. And now once we land, we have an option of coming up on top. We have the option of switching to outside ashigarami on our partner's far leg. We have the option of switching to outside ashigarami on this leg. We have many options once we land. All right, but the most important thing is we put our partner's hands down to the ground. She goes to stand up. We drop. Now, as we scissor, we drag that foot out and sit our partner down to the ground. And now when our partner goes to get up, it's a very hard thing from here. Now, it's your choice on where you go. You can go into your partner's legs, or you can just choose to start tucking feet inside. And now, as you both go to get up, because you have this Achilles grip, you'll always win that battle. So as my partner goes to get up, because you have the Achilles, even if you stand all the way up, you still end in a position all the way up. You still end up in a position where you have an Achilles, and now you can sit your partner down to the ground. Okay, so we come in one more time. We put our partner's hands down to the ground. She wants to stand up. This is smart for her, because if she stands up and she creates weightless hands, now she can V-grip and backstep right away. So as she goes to stand up, we time her shoulders coming up and over the hips. And as she gets up, we set our partner down to the ground. Now from here, as she goes to get up, we can follow her up with an Achilles and easily score either the back or top position. All right, so that was a basic scissor sweep. Everyone knows it. It's one of the first X-guard sweeps that you actually learn. All right, but now the question is, how can I perform a scissor sweep on a high-level black belt who knows that they shouldn't be standing up to place his shoulders over the hips? All right, in every situation you find yourself in with a high-level black belt, this is exactly what's going to happen. All right, you put your partner's hands to the floor. They know that if they stand up, whether with Ashi X or X guard, they know if they stand up and the shoulders come over the hips, they're going to get swept in this direction. Okay, everyone knows that. So what everyone starts to do is they start to put the hands on the floor and they lean the weight to this hand. So now it makes it possible for them to V-grip and backstep right from here with no chance of you ever sweeping them backwards because all of the weight is leaning forwards. Okay, you see this a million times. Come on, switch positions. So you see when anyone ever tries to put me in X guard, it's always they put the hands to the floor and it's here. And now if they keep the Achilles, now you're in triangle danger. Right? So it can become a real issue. So what our job is to initially keep this hand on the floor. Okay? So round over to a hip. When she goes to V-grip my ankle, we always keep that hand down to the ground. Okay? We should never be in a position where she can catch my ankle and post and back step through. So every time she goes to post, we put tension. We keep tension the whole time. Now, as I want to sweep my partner, what I have to make sure of is that we don't just do the simple scissoring action that we normally do. Okay, all of her weight's leaning forward. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to take her back in that direction by simply scissoring my legs. Instead, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to take her heel off the ground. If I can take her heel off of the floor, you're going to sweep her or at least get to the second leg every time. The question is, how can I do that? What I need to start doing is pushing, again, out towards this hand and add a slight lifting action with my right leg. The heel will always come off the ground. As the heel comes off the ground, now we drop our foot down and we pull our partner's foot towards us. So we have one leg extending in this direction and a second leg pulling in this direction. Okay? So it's no longer a linear scissor left to right. It's a true X. One foot's pushing and one foot's pulling in these two directions. Okay? Now, once I can gather this second leg, we're done from here. She has no base in this direction now. When she goes to keep herself on her hands and based out, you always set your partner down to the floor. And this is exactly where we ended up last time, where now you have the choice of entering into the legs or heisting up the top position. Okay? So we get our partner's hands down to the floor with the initial goal of keeping that right hand down on the ground. When she goes to post, it's almost impossible. Now we come through and we catch. If her heel is on the ground and you try to pull the leg towards you, it's going to be impossible. So I have to get the heel off the ground by creating that pushing and lifting action with my right leg, my top leg, so that now I can pull that second leg towards me. Now she has no base out in that direction. When she goes to not fall over, every time I put her down on her butt. And once she's on her butt, now it's relatively easy to start coming up and heisting the top position for the win. Okay? That's a more advanced scissor sweep that you can hit on high-level guys that aren't standing up and smart enough to just V-grip and backstep right from their hands being on the floor. All right, so there's always going to be times where you can't get the perfect positioning on your partner and you feel like a scissor sweep isn't going to happen. All right? There's specific cues for when you're going for scissor sweeps versus other leg entanglements or sweeps. That cue is in your partner's body positioning. If you put your partner's hands on the floor and your partner's relatively square with you, you will always be able to get to that second leg. If, for example, your partner moves so far away from you where the hands are moving out and away, now when you go to scissor and pull that leg in, it can become a very difficult thing. Right? Your partner's in a dilemma here. If your partner starts to move away from you and starts to move parallel, now you can't expose that second leg all too easy. But she exposes her own heel, where now you can come in and easily lock up a heel hook. If your partner wants to avoid a heel hook, she has to move towards me to put that heel on the floor, where now from here, it's impossible to create heel exposure, but because she's perpendicular and not out far and away parallel, it makes it very easy now for me to capture that second leg. So you play a dilemma based on her body positioning. If she's perpendicular and her head's towards you, you can always access the second leg with a basic scissor sweep or with an advanced scissor sweep. If your partner moves out and away from you, now from here, you can't get to that second leg as easily, but you can easily fire your leg up and over with my hamstring coming down over the back of my partner's hamstring and my leg reaping across the hip. Where now from here, we can lock up. As my partner goes to roll through, we can make a transition to outside ashigarami. And we land, ready to go in and break our partner. We play a basic dilemma of body positioning. If I put her hands on the floor, and she goes to face me, I'm trying to expose her heel, I can't do it, she goes to face me. Now from here, you access that second leg. This time, I'm trying to access that second leg so she moves away from me. We come out, and we immediately fire up and over. Where now from here, we can roll our partner through, we can make a transition to outside ashigarami, and now we're in position ready to go for the break. And obviously, there'll be a lot more of that if I ever do a leg lock instructional. But right for now, we're just looking at the dilemma between, obviously, leg lock and sweep. All right, so now we talked about the dilemma between scissor sweep and exposing our partner's primary leg to a heel hook. All right, now we're going to go into creating a trilemma between our partner being somewhere in the middle, where we go for the scissor sweep, somewhere far away from us, where we attack the primary leg, and then a situation where she's crowding us and her head is very close to ours, where we attack the secondary leg and we enter into cross ashigarami with a reverse X guard. Okay, so we have 3 different head positions. One is far away from us, where she turns out and away, and now there's exposure on my partner's near primary leg. There's 2, the head somewhere in the middle, where she's not quite crowding me, but she's not moving out and away. Where now from here, we can drop down and go for our scissor sweeps. And 3, this time she moves in and she's trying to take collar ties and she's trying to crush me in from here. Maybe she even drops down to a knee. She can do all kinds of things. Whenever I see my partner's coming towards me and crowding me, where I feel like now when I go to sweep my partner, when I go to pull that leg towards me, when she goes to take a strong collar tie, you can never get to your partner's second leg, and it just becomes a mess. And if you don't know what to do from here, you start to get tired, your partner's pulling on your head, and all kinds of things start happening. Whenever I see my partner start to crowd me, we immediately switch to a reverse X guard, where I take my right leg out, my top leg in this case, and we switch our 2 legs. So now we're in reverse X guard. We have X guard, standard X guard, and reverse X. When I take my legs out, I make sure that I don't just switch randomly. I keep tension running through my partner's leg by pulling with my left leg and putting tension against my partner's hamstring. So now if she goes to back step, there's tension running through my partner's leg, and that allows me now to make the switch. When I switch and my partner's crowding me, it's very easy now to start elevating your partner. As she goes to take her head towards me, we just take a cross lat post in here. Now when she goes to lock my upper body down and take underhooks or cross faces, wherever the case is, she can't, because this cross lat post completely dominates my partner's shoulder line, the line that draws my partner's 2 shoulders together. So when she goes to crush me from here, she can't. Now, I have to elevate my partner with the intent of getting my partner's hips over my head. If the hips aren't directly over your head, the move will fail. Okay? If I lift my partner's hips over my chest and try to shoot my legs through, she'll put her knee in the floor, and next thing you know, you're crushed. This is unacceptable. So I have to make sure that I take my partner's hips over my head by taking my lower back off the floor. Now from here, I take my direction hand, my left hand, which is the cross lat post. This is my direction hand. It has 2 purposes. Number 1, it frames inside my partner's lat muscle to dominate the shoulder line to keep the inside position so she can't crush me. And 2, I use it to maneuver myself to get my tailbone pointing towards my partner's far armpit, like so. Now once we're in position, I shoot my bottom leg through. My left leg, my right leg stays stationary. If I shoot both of my legs through, I go too deep, and now my partner sprawls, and I get crushed. Sword take. So I make sure that when I elevate up, like so, all I'm looking to do is point my tailbone to my partner's far armpit and shoot my bottom leg through, like so. Now I still have my knee outside my partner's hip, and now there's a wedge between myself and her. So when she goes to crush me, It's impossible. Now, she has no base, rather, in this direction. So as she goes to stay up and stop me from sitting her down to the floor, I can easily set my partner down by pushing my 2 heels to the ground. And now we're in to cross hashigurami, ready to go into attacks. Okay? So we put our partner's hands down to the floor. This time she crowds me. As she goes to crowd me, we take our right leg out and create tension still with my left leg and my right knee. So when she goes to backstep from here, it's hard. If I just go to switch and take 2 legs out and she backsteps, now she's gone. So we take 1 leg out, create tension, and as she goes to backstep, now we switch. Now from here, the goal is to pull our partner's hips directly over our head. So we put a cross frame in. Now from here, when she goes to crush me and get close, it's impossible because I have too much inside position. Now we lift. Our knees come to the chest. We take our lower back off the floor. We get our partner's hips directly over our head. Now we use our direction hand to point ourselves towards our tailbone, towards our partner's far armpit. Like so. Now we keep our top leg in place. Our action leg is our bottom leg. Our top leg is always stationary. So as our hips rise, we put a wedge behind our partner's knee. Our hips rise to bring the knee behind our partner's hamstring. We create a back heeling motion with our left leg to pull our partner down towards us. And all in one motion, our hips come up. We put a knee wedge in behind our partner's hamstring, and we back heel to catch. Now we reinforce the wedge by locking in a triangle. This will also keep your knee safe, and you won't tear your ACL or your LCL like an asshole trying to enter into cross hashigurami like I did if your partner sprawls heavily because you have a reinforced wedge. If it's just your ankles here and you have a much bigger opponent and they drop down heavily and you're pushing right at the exact second, you can tear your LCL from here. But when you reinforce the wedge, now when your partner goes to drop down heavy, it just pushes your ankle into your own hamstring, and there's no effect or any weight being bared on your knee. Now from here, she has no base out in this direction. She can even walk her hands as far as you want that way. They can only go so far. Now from here, we just take our 2 heels to the ground and sit our partner down to cross hashigurami. And now we can either go into, obviously, sweeps or attacks on our partner's legs. So we play trilemma between our partner's head being far away, our partner's head being somewhere in the middle, and our partner's head being very close to ours. All right, so now we're going to look at transitioning from either an X guard or an Ashi X guard into a scorpion. Okay, so or 10th Planet Guys lockdown. Right, so we're going to put our partner's hands down to the ground, and this time we're going to start moving into scorpion transitions. From here, I'm going to look to, instead of dropping my lower leg down to my partner's ankle, I'm going to take my top leg and put it in front of my partner's ankle, like so. So instead of taking my bottom leg and putting it behind the ankle, I take my top leg and put it in front of the ankle. And now from here, we're going to scissor our legs by pulling our now top knee, or my left leg in this case, out in this direction, and my bottom leg out in this direction, like so. Okay, so now from here, we have our partner's knee down to the ground. Once we go in and put our partner's knee in the floor, I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to step on my partner's calf muscle. The stepping of my partner's calf muscle, combined with the raising of my hips, will make it difficult now for my partner to go to stand up and take her knee back off the floor. As she goes to get up, it's not an easy thing. Now I'm going to take my left leg around and begin to go and lock a scorpion. Just know, when you do take your leg from the inside to the outside position, it does make you vulnerable to leg attacks. Okay, so just understand that this is a risk here. So if she sits back, she can go into my legs. Right? Understand that that's a real danger there. I take my left leg around, and now we move from the calf muscle down to the ankle, and we push our partner's ankle out like so. So that we can feed our heel inside of our partner's ankle, and now we can lock in ankle to ankle with a grip underneath our partner's shoelaces. So we go in, left leg goes in, we cross our ankles, and then we put our shoelaces underneath our partner's shoelaces. Now when she goes to stand up, I extend my two legs. When she goes to move around, she's locked in place from here, and now we can start to go into all of our attacks. So we initially put our partner's hands down to the ground, like so. Now we make a transition. Again, we need tension with our left leg so that our right leg comes in and we catch. Now from here, I pull my right knee back in this direction. And I made a mistake before. Instead of extending this, or instead of pulling this left knee in, I extend the left leg. So the left leg pushes in this direction, and the right knee, the bottom knee, pulls in this direction. Okay? So as I push with the left leg, I pull with the bottom knee. We put our partner's knee down to the ground. Now from here, I step with my right leg. As my hips rise, it's difficult for her to take her knee off the floor. If I just step without my hips coming off the floor, she just pops right back up, and now she's gone. So I step and I raise my hips. Now if she goes to get up, it's impossible. Now we take our left leg around the corner, we catch, and now we move down to the ankle. Again, as she goes to get up, there's pressure the whole time on the leg. We push the ankle out past the knee, and we drape our leg over the calf muscle. Now we cross our two ankles, and we put our shoelaces underneath our partner's shoelaces. As she goes to get up, we extend our two legs, and now when she goes to move around from here, it's a very difficult thing. Okay? And one more time. Just a little different angle. We put our partner's hands down to the ground, like so. Now we keep tension with the left leg, and we switch with the right leg. Now as we push the top leg out in this direction, the direction my toes point, we pull in the direction the knees point with the right leg. We put our partner's knee down. Now from here we place right foot, leg comes out, moves around, and now we bow the ankle out past the knee so we can drape our leg over. Now we make a switch, ankle to ankle, shoelace to shoelace, and then we hit an extension. So when our partner goes to move now, it's very, very difficult from there. Okay? So we switch from an X guard, an inside position base guard, to a scorpion, an outside position base guard. All right, so let's look at basic scorpion sweep from bottom to top. Just a simple heist. It's very similar to an X guard heist, but we're going to go into more advanced series as we go on here. So we initially put our partner's hands on the floor. Now the knee goes to the floor. Now we go in and we lock a scorpion. If you had an Ashi X, you always have to switch to a full X guard with a scoop grip. Okay, so it's going to be hard to heist up from here because my partner has the ability, when I start posting on my partner's foot, to start pushing back into me and getting her head back over my head. So I always recommend switching first to a scoop grip. So now I can start to build height and really split her legs like I want to keep her off balance. When I look to start heisting up from here, the first thing I'm going to look to do is to hit an initial kazushi, where I forward shift by bringing my knees to my chest initially and then shooting my legs out and coming up to an elbow. Now from here, I take my right foot and I post on my partner's calf muscle. Again, the post will prevent her from taking her knee off the ground. So because I have a leg elevated and because her knee can't come off the ground, the race to get up from here is a pretty easy one to win. As we both go to get up, go hard. Get up on top.
I can't.
She can't move. And now from here, we just pull the leg towards us. Now we're ready to go in and start all of our passing right from there. Okay? So we come through, we put our partner's hands down, we put our partner's knees down, and we initially lock a scorpion. Now, if you just want to go right to a sweep from here, you just put your partner's knee in the floor and you plant on the calf muscle. You don't have to go to a scorpion first and then try, and then go back to a post on the calf muscle. Well, let's say we get to a scorpion and we can't make anything happen for whatever reason. We go back to basic X guard and we bring the legs back inside and we can go into all of our attacks from here. Okay, but nonetheless, if we want to go in and lock and score a basic sweep, we post on our partner's calf muscle. Now from here, we move up to an elbow. Now, as we both go to get up, she's in a very unathletic position. Even though I'm lower than her, I've completely negated her movement. So as we both go to win the battle, I can easily build to a knee. And now from here, even if she stands up and away from me, it's very easy to start pulling my partner back towards me and creating back exposure for the win. All right, so now let's talk about passing the leg over from a scoop scorpion and taking our partner's back. Now this is going to be something that you see in half guard as well, but it started from open guard, so I'm just going to show it here, and then we'll show it again in the half guard instructional when we eventually come out with that. All right, so we get to a scoop scorpion. We put our partner's feet or knee on the floor, and we either start with an Ashi X and make a transition, or we just start right from a scoop with a full X guard. Right? Now, when I'm here, we have a couple choices. Obviously, we just showed coming up and sweeping our partner from here, moving back into kind of an X guard situation and going in. We can also look to start passing our partner's leg across to the opposite side. Now, when I go to pass my partner's leg, I can't just release the scoop and expect my partner to stay here. She's going to take this leg back and away from me and move back into a half guard. So I have to keep my partner's leg elongated so that she can't bring her heel down close to her butt. The closer her heel gets to her butt, the further I am from losing her. If her heel gets all the way to her butt, now she's flattened me out and she's back in half guard. So I keep this leg elongated by coming in, and we take a high elbow. Once I take a high elbow, this completely eliminates the ability for her to curl her heel in towards her butt. So now we catch with a grip up and over my partner's heel, and we grab like so. Now, as my partner goes to back heel and bring her heel down to her butt, we're working at the long end of the lever. So when she goes to crush me back into half guard, it's impossible from here. Now we switch to one V grip, where we have a V grip on the outside of our partner's ankle, like so. Now the V grip replaces the grip that I have on my partner's heel. So here, when she goes to the back heel, the grip on the heel stops her. Now I replace the V grips. Now when she goes to back heel, I take the grip on the heel off, and the V grip replaces that. Now we come in and we take a second V grip. Now if she goes to back heel, it's impossible. Now we can easily make a transition when the leg goes from one side to the other. And now we pommel our hand to the inside, and we catch. Now from this position, all we're going to look to do is we're going to look to sit up and get to my partner's far hip. Normally this knee will come down to the floor as I come up, and we'll be in this position here. Now from here, we're going to look to sit up and catch our partner's far hip. From this position, we have to let go, but make sure that our partner can't just sit into our legs and go into an attack on the legs, right? Because she knows she's beat positionally here, but she can still go in and attack submissions. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to build from an elbow to a hand. Now the second I release my legs, I have to look to heist and invert my left knee to the floor. If my left knee points towards my partner's rib cage, when I go to pull it out and she goes to sit into my legs, she always beats me either with spinning the leg or by just sitting into outside Ashigurami, and now she beats me. But if I can get my knee down to the floor, now she has no chance to trap my knee. When she goes to attack my leg now, just try to spin the leg, the knee can always come out. She needs my knee off the floor in order to get a wedge behind my knee and underneath my hamstring in order to stop me from pulling my knee out. But if I immediately invert my knee to face towards the floor, as I go to get up, when she goes to fight to get into my legs, we immediately are in a position now where we can go in and look to start attacking turtle, our favorite thing from here. And obviously, you guys should at least be knowing how to break your partner down once we are in this position. Okay, so we go in. We put our partner's knee down to the ground, hands to the floor. Hands to the floor, knee to the floor. We lock a scoop scorpion. All right. Now, from here, our gripping sequence is very specific. We don't just go My partner brings the heel in, and now I'm beat. So we reach. 1, we grab our partner's heel. When she goes to bring that heel down to the butt, it's impossible. We catch a V grip. 2, on the outside of my partner's ankle. When she goes to bring that foot down now, it's impossible. We switch from a heel to a second V grip. 3, when she goes to bring that heel down, it's impossible. Now you make a lift and a pass. Now from here we pommel the hand inside, and we look to start coming up. So I sit up. As my partner's knee comes down, we come up to an elbow, then to a hand. If your partner tries to apply a whizzer from here, it's pretty difficult from here, and it ensures you that your partner can't start accessing your legs. Okay, that's why we get to this far hip. Most of the time, her hands will be on the floor, but even if she has a whizzer from here, it doesn't make a difference. We quickly heist, we invert the knee, and now we're out. Now her whizzer becomes a liability. If she keeps that whizzer, she's either 1, her arm going to get stuck in there and she's going to injure her own shoulder. Or 2, if she stays with the whizzer in, she has a strong whizzer, because I'm on my partner's far hip, she'll always accept a sweep, and now you're in top position anyways. So she has a choice between accepting a sweep, 1, or relinquishing the whizzer, and now you have back exposure. Right? So again, just to show you guys the gripping sequences, this is very, very important when you're transitioning from a scoop scorpion, feeding leg across. We put our partner's leg down, and we switch to a scoop scorpion. It's never here. You're going to lose every time. It's a scoop. 1, 2. Gonna move. The whole time, actually going to back heel and force me into a half guard. Go ahead. Makes the pass seamless. Now we come through, we sit, and we capture the far hip. We build to a hand. Now we invert the knee, so when she goes to fight for my legs, she can't. And now from here, we're ready to go into all of our favorite turtle attacks right off the bat. All right, so a big question in this open guard series for the viewer, I know a lot of people have been asking, is the integration between open guard attacks and leg locking. So we're going to add some leg entries in here as well. So from a scoop scorpion, this time we come through and we get our partner's knee to the ground. We get a scoop scorpion in place, and we make a pass off where the leg switches from one side to the other. This time we sit up like so. Now from here, knee down. Okay. Now from here, let's say we don't want to go into our partner's back, and we just want to choose to attack our partner's legs at this point. Right? From here, all we're going to look to do is we're going to look to take an Achilles grip on our partner's leg. Again, we're switching to a form of single leg control, so we look to work with an Achilles rather than a scoop grip. So we take an Achilles grip, we plant our head on the ground. Let's move back a little bit. We plant our head on the ground. We unravel the scorpion. We take a false grip over our partner's knee. And now from here, as we fire our legs over, we're going to look to put our foot behind our partner's hamstring. Okay? So we start with a scorpion, in like so. I take my foot behind my partner's hamstring. So as we pass the leg through, we have an initial scorpion. As we look to come up, we take an Achilles, and all we're going to look to do is one place a foot back on my partner's calf muscle. This will make it, again, hard for her to stand. So that now I can invert my knee and come up and put my shoelaces behind my partner's hamstring. Now you have a choice. You obviously still can come to your partner's back, or we can look to go into our partner's legs from here. So we take an Achilles grip, a false grip up and over my partner's knee, and now we put weight over our partner's hamstring with our shoelaces. So as she goes to get up, it's difficult. Now we fire our legs up and over, and we catch two shoelaces now to the back of our partner's hamstring. And now from here, we use this Achilles grip to roll our partner through. We access the secondary leg, and now we can go into attacks on our partner's legs or sweeps, obviously, from here. Okay, but a good entrance into the legs off that scoop scorpion. So we initially get a scoop scorpion. We go 1, 2, 3, pass. We sit up and we catch. Now, I take my foot and plant again, once again on my partner's calf muscle. We lift the hips, invert the knee, and we place 2 feet behind our partner's leg. Now we catch your false grip. We put weight over the back of our partner's knee. So when she goes to stand or move away from me, it's not easy. Now we fire our leg through. We put 2 shoelaces behind our partner's hamstring. And now as we roll through, we capture our partner's secondary leg. And we're ready to go into all of our attacks or heists up into passes right from here. Okay?